It was an unreal season for Syracuse in year one under Fran Brown. The Orange went 10-3, winning 5 games as an underdog, including their massive upset victory over Miami, which completely changed the college football landscape. Fran Brown has already laid a very great foundation, a great culture at Syracuse, but another big double-digit win season is probably very unlikely in 2025. We're going to tell you why. Before we get to that, let's look at what happened last year. Looking at the roster, I think a lot of people realize that Syracuse might be better than a team would be with a first-year head coach. Fran Brown never been a head coach before, but obviously had a great energy, great passion for the game, and had a great mix of returning talent and guys coming through the transfer portal, namely a guy like Kyle McCord. They started 5-1, the lone loss at home by 2 points to Stanford, which was a pretty big upset at the time. Then they had a 5-interception day against Pittsburgh. 3 of those 5 interceptions returned for a pick 6, and they lost by 6 points to Boston College. So when you look at the schedule, it kind of hurts for Syracuse. Looking, hey, we won 10 games, which is awesome, but probably should have beat Stanford. Probably should have beat a mediocre Boston College team. The Pittsburgh game, hey, that's just a bad day. But easily could have been a 10-11 win season. Who knows where the Orange would have ended up. But they did beat Georgia Tech. They won on the road at UNLV. They beat Virginia Tech. They beat Miami in comeback fashion, and then beat Washington State in their bowl game. So a very successful season for Syracuse. And again, the important thing that we saw last year was not just the 10 wins and how fun last year was, but the fact that Fran Brown did a fantastic job. The culture has been laid out. It's been instilled. The foundation has been laid. He is building a program and will continue to do so for many years to come. But we said they might take a step back, and here's why. Last year, they averaged 34 points per game on offense, 468 yards per game. 370 of those were through the air. They averaged just 98 rushing yards per game. Well, now only 2 starters are back. They lose the guy that was responsible for a lot of those numbers, Kyle McCord, who posted over 4,700 passing yards and 34 touchdowns. They lose their 1,000-yard rusher and LaQuint Allen. They lose their top 3 pass catchers, all 3 of which had at least 900 reception yards. So they lose a lot of talent. They lose a lot of explosive firepower. But they do bring in another transfer quarterback, Steve Angeli, coming in from Notre Dame, where in the last 2 years he's thrown for over 770 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Got a little playing time in that playoff game last year against Penn State. But we haven't seen much of him. Right? I mean, most of those stats that we just listed have come in, scrub time, where Notre Dame's winning big, or they're down big, or maybe someone gets hurt for a tiny bit. He hasn't really seen significant time as a starter and really meaningful playing time in the games that he's appeared in. Well, now he's going to be the starter at Syracuse. I'd say that's pretty meaningful. But he's got some good mobility. He's got a good, accurate arm. And I think he actually might do better than people expect in this offense. His wide receiver core is also severely underrated. Jonte Cook, transferring in from Texas, going to be a great pickup for Syracuse. Justice Ross Simmons was supposed to be a big addition last year. Couldn't really stay too healthy. But he transferred in from Colorado State. Only had 202 yards last year, but could play a bigger role in the offense now. And then Darryl Gill had 570 yards receiving last year. So wasn't one of the top 3 that we mentioned, but still a vital part of the offense. The only concern I have for Syracuse offensively is their offensive line. Only 37 starts coming back for Syracuse. So some questions up front, and that could be a concern as they go against some really, really good defensive lines, which we'll talk about in a second. The defense. 6 starters are back, but they gave up 29.2 points per game, 378 yards per game, and that includes 150 rushing yards per game. They've got to be better up front. And that was pretty evident like in their week 1 game last year. You could tell there were some issues with the running defense when Ohio was running all over them. Syracuse got the win, but there were still some concerns. Syracuse allowed at least 173 rushing yards in 2 of their 3 losses. The one where they didn't was against Pittsburgh, but again, when you score 3 pick sixes, you don't have to do too much offensively. Overall, they allowed 150 rushing yards or more 6 times. So in 6 of the 13 games they played, they allowed at least 150 rushing yards. They now lose 7 of their top 10 tacklers, but they might be okay. The defensive line brings in George Rooks from Boston College. Dennis Jacquez returns. Deion Wilson returns, all up front on that defensive line. The linebacking core returns Derek McDonald, and Devin Grant is back at the star position. And the secondary might be better than people realize. Deuce Chestnut, who was second on the team in tackles last year, is back. Barry Buxton showed signs of promise last year, but it's still a fairly young, somewhat inexperienced secondary that only had 9 interceptions in 2024. So, again, this is a Syracuse team that has a great coach, that does have some talent, will be competitive, but maybe not expected to replicate the success they had last year. That could come back next year or even in a few years as Fran Brown continues to instill his culture and continues to build this program. Take a look at the schedule. It is really tough. Syracuse had a fairly favorable schedule in 2024. Now look at it. They have to play Tennessee, on the road at Clemson, on the road at SMU, on the road at Georgia Tech, on the road at Miami, on the road at Notre Dame. I mean, goodness. Unbelievable. I mean, a pretty favorable schedule last year. And now, not only are they playing some of the best teams within the conference, they're playing them on the road. So that's just a nasty, nasty schedule for the Orange. They open up the year against Tennessee in Atlanta. And I'm going to pick them to lose this game. I see a lot of people thinking this game's going to be really, really close. And I think it'll be really slow going for both these programs as they're both trying to figure out this, all the changes. Tennessee was a playoff team last year, but loses tons, namely their quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, off to UCLA. So it's a battle between Joey Aguilar and Stephen Jelly, both making their first starts with a new team. So that's the storyline I'm watching for in Atlanta on the 30th. But bottom line is Tennessee can run the football well. They've still got a decent offensive line. Deshaun Bishop showed a lot of talent, and their defense, Tennessee's defense, really, really good. I think Tennessee owns the edge in every aspect of this game. They're going to get the win on a neutral site. Syracuse 0-1, but 2-1 after they beat UConn, who they only beat by 7 last year. But they will beat UConn, and they will beat Colgate 2-1. Now it's time to get down to business. Getting into the bulk of conference play, they will not beat Clemson on the road. I just don't think that can happen. And it feels wrong, right? It feels like Clemson should let them win. Obviously not. But, after Fran Brown led Syracuse to a win over Miami, which, as he said, hey, Dabo Swinney, I let you in. I got you in, which got Clemson to the ACC championship, which ultimately got them to the college football playoff. Syracuse did Clemson a huge favor. I don't think Clemson's going to do Syracuse many favors on September 20th. I just don't. Maybe Kate Klubnik will throw a pick just to help him out once. But in Death Valley, against that good of a team that is now a national title contender, just don't see Syracuse getting the job done. They're 2-2. But I do think they'll beat Duke. I think home field plays a big role here. I mean, the Carrier Dome is going to be rocking. Syracuse football is fun again. Syracuse football has a reason to be excited again. And this Duke team has some question marks too. How quickly will Darian Mensah pan out at quarterback? He showed a lot of talent and promise at Tulane. Will he be the same at Duke? How quickly will he bond and build chemistry with those wide receivers? How good will the running game be? Can they exploit this Syracuse rushing defense that hasn't been that great? I do think Angeli, as the weeks go on, especially being tested against Tennessee, Clemson, and even UConn, who's not going to be a bad team, will gain a lot of confidence and will learn a lot. And I think he can exploit this Duke secondary, which isn't bad, but isn't great. So home field advantage, a team that's starting to click a little bit more. I think they can beat Duke on the 27th. They're 3-2, but then we'll lose on the road at SMU, one of the best teams in the conference, to drop to 3-3. It's also, just a note here, it's Syracuse's first trip to Texas, first regular season game in the state of Texas since 1993. So a cool tidbit there, but unfortunately they will lose to the Mustangs. So halfway through the year, they're at 500, which is not a bad place to be, especially with as difficult as the schedule has been. They come out of the bye week and they take on Pittsburgh, and that's a winnable game because look, you look at the score on paper and you go, man, they lost 41-13. Pitt demolished them, and they did. But how often are you going to see a team like that throw 5 picks? And then how often are you going to see 5 of those picks get returned for interception 3 times? So 60% of the interceptions that were thrown last year got returned for a touchdown. I mean, that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So this is going to be a much closer game, I would expect. I don't expect there to be that many turnovers, and if there are, I don't expect there to be many touchdowns off of those turnovers. This is a great rivalry game. These two teams have met every year since 1955, but Syracuse doesn't fare well in this game. They don't fare well against the Panthers. They've only won 3 times since 2005, and I can't pick them to win now, even off the week of rest, even at home. This Pittsburgh team's got a really, really good front 7. I like their defensive line a lot. I love their linebackers. I don't think the Orange are going to have too much of a rushing game. Steve Angeli's got some dual threat capability. That is something that you're going to want to monitor, but I just don't think that they're going to have that much going for them. They clearly didn't even have one last year with the Quint Allen, only averaged 98 rushing yards per game. So this is a one-dimensional Syracuse offense against a pretty good Pittsburgh defense, and a Pittsburgh team that also has a veteran quarterback in Eli Holston and Desmond Reed at running back. This is just a team that seems pretty complete to me and also has Syracuse's number. So all that said, they're not going to have 5 picks again. They're not going to have 3 pick sixes again, but Pittsburgh is going to get the win. It will be closer. Syracuse drops it to 3-4, and I definitely think they drop to 3-5 with a loss at Georgia Tech, who I'm very high on in 2025. Lots of talent coming back for the Yellow Jackets. If they can stay healthy, they are a college football playoff sleeper. And I know that they beat Georgia Tech last year, beat them 31-28. I get it. But again, Syracuse had 515 yards of offense in that game. Their defense did well against Georgia Tech, holding them to 112 rushing yards. I don't think that happens this time around, especially now on the road. And there's certainly no way that Syracuse posts 500 yards of offense. So they lose that game. They're 3-5, and now the pressure's on. Final third of the season coming up, which means 4 games, and you've got to win 3 to go bowling. And you've got road games at Miami and Notre Dame, in between home games against Bill Belichick in North Carolina and a Boston College team that beat you last year. It's tough. It's tough, man. With their backs against the wall, at home, on Halloween night, I think they beat Bill Belichick in North Carolina. I do think they get that win. Because North Carolina is a tough team to predict for me. I have a lot of faith in Bill Belichick. I'm really excited to see them in action. But will Gio Lopez pan out at quarterback? Is he the guy? Do they have the skill position players to help out Gio Lopez in this offense? Does the defense come together? Do they respond to Bill Belichick's coaching and develop the way they need to? Again, I'm very excited to watch this team, but I think Fran Brown rallies his troops and finds a way to stop the bleeding. They've lost 3 straight games. They know they've got to win to keep their hopes alive, and I think they take care of business at home. A low-scoring defensive game is my prediction. They do beat the Tar Heels, though, 4-5. On the road at Miami, that's going to be a loss, 4-6, a revenge game for the Hurricanes. Even though a lot of those guys that helped Miami to that historic season, at least statistically, are gone. Cam Ward's gone, and Restrepo's gone, and Martinez is gone. Everybody's gone. This is Mario Cristobal wants revenge. The guys that are coming back want revenge. Syracuse, as we know, came back from a 21-point deficit, beat Miami 42-38 at the Carrier Dome. That kept Miami out of the ACC Championship in the playoff. Pretty much ruined their season in the season finale. Now Miami certainly going to want revenge at home. Would not be surprised at all to see Mario Cristobal run up the score or try everything in his power to do so. Syracuse falls short 4-6, and they will officially not be going bowling when they lose on the road at Notre Dame. I don't know many teams that can beat the Fighting Irish this year. They are a very good team. We talked about Syracuse's rushing defense and the concerns there. Jeremiah Love's one of the best running backs in the country. Notre Dame will have one of the best offensive lines in the country. They'll be in the hunt for a college football playoff berth by this point. The odds are not looking good for Syracuse in that game. So they fall there 4-7 in the season finale at home against Boston College. Neither of these teams may have much to play for. Both teams could be eliminated from postseason contention. But Fran Brown's not the type of guy just to roll over and be like, well, the season's lost, let's move on. He's going to bring his A game every single week. They are going to beat Boston College on senior day too. So that's always an extra motivation. They will beat a Boston College team who I'm just not sold on. I know Boston College torched them on the ground last year. 313 rushing yards against Syracuse was absolutely insane. But the Eagles now have quarterback questions. They lose their top 2 rushers. They lose 5 of their top 8 tacklers. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Eagles. Syracuse ends their year on a little bit of a high. 5-7 in 2025. My man Jerry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jerry. Don't hate me, my man. Don't hate me. We got your Syracuse helmet up here. We do. We know. We're rooting for the orange, but this is just a brutal schedule, definitely in comparison to last year. They lose so much talent from last year that helped them get to that historic 10-win mark and had them as one of the best offenses in the country. It's only natural that they're going to take a step back. Maybe they find a way to snag a win over Pittsburgh, or that's probably it, if I'm being honest with you. Out of the losses I have pegged, I think Pittsburgh might be the one that determines if they go bowling or not. And that's assuming they can beat Duke. That's assuming they can beat North Carolina. Some would say 5-7 might be kind of generous. I would love nothing more than to see Syracuse get to a bowl game, but I think this year, with all the cards stacked against them roster-wise and schedule-wise, they fall just short. They remain competitive, and next year, 2026, is when the Orange bounce back. Because I can promise you, as long as Fran Brown is the head coach there, the Orange will be relevant. Promise you that. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks and our weekly newsletters. Tons of exclusive content over on our website to help you, get through this offseason, but also stuff you're not going to want to miss once the regular season starts. So go take advantage of it. Become a member of our GE Nation today. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.